Greetings, Minecrafters. I'm Dr. Kimberly Quinn, hoping to have a lovely discussion today on, outward self-respect. And we're having this discussion today from Barcelona. This is actually just a really cool mural behind me in our very modest, very lovely little apartment our daughter found in Airbnb, which is so conducive to creativity. I love this about Europe. It's so simple, and it's not just Spain, it was also France, and I years ago in Italy, same thing, and just walking around, nothing on the walls. Not and sometimes there's one thing on the wall, but I can't tell you how conducive this is to creativity. There's a cool mural back there, and it's just what we need. Like it's just modest and easy, and I call that room over there, which we can't really see from here too much, but it's like my little monk room. It's a cubby. Everyone should have one. But it's so conducive to creativity. So anyway, all right. Focus, Kimberly. So here's the thing. Okay, so the Europeans, this is a country, Spain, also France. There's two countries. They're just loaded with Barbies and Kens and Kens and Kens and Barbies who are all very attractive. Everybody, the kids are attractive, the teenagers are attractive, the younger middle adults, midlifers like myself, and the older Europeans, they all just look so darn good. And this was also true years ago when I was, not that many years ago, a few years ago, when I was in Italy, in southern Italy, a few years before that in northern Italy. I just have wanderlust and I'm very resourceful. Ireland, same thing. And they just prioritize, they really prioritize dressing up, and I think there's a lot to be said for this. And some of them, have that look. They look like they're going to a wedding, and some are a little more casual, but still so put together. And I think sometimes we have I don't know, a stigma with this. I think sometimes that this is shallow, or somebody's their ego is huge and they're filling it up. They're wearing their self-esteem on the outside, which can be true when it's taken to an extreme. Okay, like some of the reality shows and things like that. Not going to comment on all the cosmetic surgery and, kind of over the top high end stuff, because I'm just going to leave that alone. But we're talking about just regular presenting your best self each and every day. And I was actually, I thinking of, well, one's not a family member and one is, but growing up, one person I knew in high school made her own clothes, and that's out of my league. I'm sewing impaired. But I knew someone who looked like $1,000,000, the majority of the time, and she preferred to get her things secondhand, thrift store. She just liked that, yard sales, and she looked so good, the majority of the time. And again, I just try to steer away from words like everywhere and always, but I mean, she just looked good. So it's not really about money. And I'll tell you, being in the groove, I've gotten back in the groove over here, because after the Rona, which was a trauma, I've heard people say, oh, it's almost like it was a trauma. It wasn't like a trauma, it was a trauma. And many of us, including myself, got into a routine, maybe even a rut, cooking ruts, all kinds of ruts, a getting dressed rut, a wearing, it's almost like, sweatpants became our new uniform or something. We got into wearing loose fitting clothing. Not all of us were practicing our usual hygiene. Makeup, if that's your thing, shaving body parts, if that's your thing. A lot of us just really got laxed with this, and I don't think people realize how much this affects how we feel. It affects how we feel. And again, we're not talking about a big money investment. We're talking about being put together, getting a new haircut, okay? Getting a new haircut. I got this in Madrid, and there's going to be more on that later with a whole nother conversation, because I knew when I got it done, there was a life lesson in it. Huge life lesson. I even said that to our daughter, Shani, who I'm visiting here. Anyway, that's going to be for later, but what a great experience. And it was like spiritual or something. Spiritual well-being. I don't know. Later. It's going to be later because it's so good. Okay, so staying focused on the clothes thing. And, I looked around, and like the little 2-year-olds are dressed so well, just put together, their hair done. And the teenagers are very put together. You saw teenagers in gaggles all over the place, put together. And also, just people just crossing the street going nowhere looked good. And we're also in Paris, same thing. So it's not just the beach, people going to work. And in Italy years ago, we actually, one of the places we were, because I'm a huge St. Anthony fan, was Padova. And that's, a very working class town. There wasn't anything touristy about it, except for maybe his basilica. It was very not touristy. And the same thing. They were all just so dressed to the nines. And I don't think sometimes we fully get that how we present ourselves to the world is also what we attract. It's also about how we feel. So when we dress up, it's almost, and it can be that fake it till you make it thing. Sometimes when we're not feeling great about ourselves, we dress up a little bit, pull our shoulders back, and all of a sudden we're feeling more confident and we're feeling better about ourselves. And the thing is that how we dress, how we put ourselves out there is our outward expression of our inner respect. And so we feel better when we are put together. That's just it. And what else did I want to say? Oh, as far as the whole well-being thing too, with the clothes, the haircut, the grooming, we got in such a slump with the Rona, and I say, find whatever it is that's your mojo. For me, I just spent not the 20, it's 20, let's just call it 25, it's 20s, I don't know, euros on a pair of really cool Barcelona pants. And all of a sudden I felt this inner Barcelona swag. And not that 25 euros can't be a ton of money, I don't mean that. The rest of it though, I already had a black shirt, I already had the cool black sandals that I've had forever. They were probably another $10. I just don't spend a lot on stuff. And I think I spent another $6 on a very cool Barcelona hat. And I just felt like I owned it, you know what I mean? Walking down the streets, Barcelona swag, and it felt so good and new, and I just felt so put together. It was just a little bit of like a rush, like in a good way, like woohoo, got it going on. So whatever it is to find your inner mojo with it, change it up a little bit, new haircut, new something, and again, nails if that's your thing, makeup if that's your thing, shave something, whatever. But it's time to get back into it because schlepping around just isn't good for our head. There are times to be casual, of course, but the schlepping around as a routine is not good for our mental health. Period. That's it. It just isn't. Here's another thing I like to talk about that goes along with it, sort of, is oftentimes over in the good old US of A, and disclaimer because I love my country, the emphasis on love my country, and we certainly can all offer something to the table, culturally speaking. We can all, share what we do well and what we want to tweak and things like that. And where do I want to go with that? Okay, so we often have like age stigma, and with if we saw a fabulous 56. If we saw a fabulous 56-year-old or 60-something-year-old wheeling down the street on a skateboard, we might, even if we didn't say it, we might be thinking, oh, look at him, grow up. He's trying to be a teenager, or she's trying to grow, be a teenager, and look at her with that little short skirt, even though she looks magnificent. Look at her, she's trying to be a teenager. Well, that is not here. It's not here. It's not in France, at least where I saw. And again, I've been in places that aren't touristy. It's all the same. And they are flying, the Europeans are flying around on these little scooters, which they're a little nutty with it. I'll tell you that, like in and out of cars. They don't stay they're not even on the sidewalk. I don't think they're allowed to be on the sidewalk. But anyway, they're zipping around, and you see couples. This is very, very couples-friendly area, too. So they're often in twosies. And they're flying around, and you see the teenagers on them, but you see the 20-somethings on them. Lots of bike riding, which is also, of course, healthy, just to stay active. The scooters are, I think, electric. And they're flying. Now, I'm not talking about mopeds. I'm talking about standing up, like little kids that I associate with little kids. There are 50 and 60 and upwards of people flying around on these things all over, and there's no judgment. And and again, then they look great. The entire country of Spain looks great, and the entire country of France looks great. And I say good for them, because not only do they look good doing what they're doing, and they're staying active, and they've busted out of that age jail or something. I just don't, and I've always been a fan of doing what I want to do. I ski and do all that because I want to, but that's not even the same, because this is like more public. You're out in a scooter, you're just wide open to judgment. It's not really even the same as skiing. And In the wonderful good old US of A, I mean, I've heard people say stuff. Look at her, look at him, look at them. Get off your skateboard, go back to work. No! Stay on your skateboard, or better yet, skateboard to work. Because there's been so many studies out there. Now, Harvard did one. I'm totally paraphrasing because this came into my mind at this exact second. In addition to the famous Harvard study about relationships, which the Europeans are also super affectionate, but leave that alone for now. There was one where they basically immersed 70 somethings. There were at least 70 something, and they just immersed them in all this dialogue, all this experimental stuff where they brought them back mentally, brought them back to their 50s. They brought them back to their 50s. And lo and behold, these 70 somethings, everything just went up. Well being, and they started to kind of feel more 50s, and they just, it can only go to a good place. Obviously, as long as you're being safe. But the crew I saw in their 60s and upwards on these scooters were in also very good shape outside of the smoking thing. Not judging smokers. We all know that that's horrible for you. Other than that, because there's a lot of smoking going on here, like big time. Other than that, one sort of no. The rest, I mean, I feel like, wow. So the second I get home to my wonderful country, the good old U.S. of A., I am going to start working on my core. I mean, I run. I'm already kind of active, but I'm not with the core. I'm not with all that. And already got the haircut. Going to work on improving the wardrobe and getting back into a more deliberate routine. Deliberate routine because of dressing up. And I have a lot of fun pants, but also just to make some changes. And also the cooking rut, that'll be a YouTube for another time, because that's also another way to be stagnant. We don't want to be stagnant, and so I'll just leave this with one of my favorites, one of my two favorites. My favorite alive person is Oprah, as I think you know. She's a very good friend. She just isn't aware of it. And my dear Robin Williams, who I just loved so much, in Dead Poet Society with the Carpe Diem thing, and seize the moment and sucking the marrow out of life. And there's all kinds of PDA, public displays of affection, as you know, here. And it's not just teenagers, it's 50-year-olds and it's 60-year-olds climbing on each other on the beach. And I say good for them. It's all a mindset. It's all what we've been conditioned to believe is okay and what's not okay. And I'm hoping for all of you and myself, anyone who's watching, to just bust out of gender jail, definitely, and bust out of healthy aging jail. Bust out of healthy aging jail and do your thing. If you want to kiss your partner in front of the whole world, I say scream it, man. You're in love, let the whole world know. Who cares? And here's the other thing. With all these smoochy woochy couples that definitely would get comments in the United States, here's the thing. Those two people are having a ball. The people looking and judging with, oh my God, go get a room. You know what? They always have the alternative, the option to turn the other way. Look the other direction if you don't like it. And probably underneath it, all they're probably envious. That's what I'm thinking. So I say good for them. And so this is my thing for today, is outward expression of self-respect reflects in inward self-respect. There's no question about that. We know that to be true. Fake it till you make it's been a thing for a very long time over in the States, and I'm sure the world. The other thing is do your thing on scooters. And lastly, bust out of gender jail, bust out of healthy aging jail, bust out of who gives a fat rat's ass what people think jail. Just bust out and do your thing and live a great life. And by the way, since I'm often referred to as colorful and all these other things, colorful, whatever that means, eccentric people, just so you know, little psychology fun fact, I would consider myself a little eccentric, I guess. I'm not too into labels, but eccentric people, on average, live at least 10 years longer than boring people. So there you have it. Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Barcelona, España. Have a very well-dressed day.